Good evening. It is really an honor and a pleasure to me to present to you a very remarkable human being, the Prime Minister of Albania, Mr. Edi Rama. 25 years ago, Edi Rama was a university student during the communist dictatorship of Enver Hoxha, who had died in 1985 after ruling for 40 years. And he was a leader of the student movement that ended up overthrowing the government, as were other members of his cabinet who are with him here. Now, a leader of a student movement is a sufficient task. But besides being a leader of the student movement, he was a member of the national basketball team and a member of a professional basketball team. Now, you could say, well, yes, as you'll see, he's a pretty tall man. I could have guessed that he's a basketball player. But his profession was to also be an artist, a painter. And this is going to come out as an important element of his life and his worldview. So the government felt it was a transition to something that looked somewhat like a democracy, but a democracy that didn't take lightly to its opponents. So sometime in 1993, he was found almost dead with a broken skull, a broken body. And I can imagine a young student, a young former student, early on in his career, an athlete, a painter, finding himself with a broken body and a broken skull. And you can imagine that you can easily lose your faith, your temper. But after an artistic career, 4 years later, he became Minister of Culture. And 3 years later, he became the mayor of Tirana. And as mayor of Tirana, he used his artistic skills to do something that was quite remarkable, which is to transform the spirit of the city by just first painting it and then cleaning it up. And if you want to see a remarkable piece of public policy, I suggest that you search his TED Talk, where he describes his vision for that transformation and the realization of that transformation. He was mayor of Tirana for 11 years, and in that process, he fought an internal fight within his party to take over the leadership and to bring a new generation of political leaders to his party, to renew his party. And with that renewed leadership and renewed platform, he won the elections a year and a bit ago in a resounding way, with 60% support for his coalition. That transformation from fighting a government to becoming a prime minister of a strong government has been quite a remarkable achievement. But since then, he has been leading a government that is strongly committed to reform, strongly committed to European integration. During his government, he has been selected as a candidate country for accession to the EU and has done a set of other achievements that he's going to tell us about. In that process, we have been privileged as the Kennedy School, as the Center for International Development, to have partnered with the government of Albania. We have had ministers of his cabinet in our executive education programs. We had 14 of our students being summer interns in Albania this summer. We have had something like 6 faculty deeply involved in different aspects of reform for Albania. So it has been a really important learning experience for us, engaging experience for us, to be able to play a really, really small part in this fantastic story. So without further ado, I'm going to now introduce to you Elaine Papoulias, who's the executive director of the Center for European Studies here at Harvard. Before that, she was the executive director of the COCALIS program for Southeastern Europe here at the Kennedy School. And in that capacity, she had a long-lasting relationship with Edi Rama, who at the time was the mayor of Tirana. So without further ado, Elaine Papoulias.
Thank you, Ricardo, for that warm introduction and for all you do for our students and for the great nation of Albania. Mr. Prime Minister, honorable ministers of Albania, dear friends of the Albanian American community, ladies and gentlemen, Mirem Brema, good evening. It's a great honor for the Center for European Studies to co-sponsor tonight's event with the Center for International Development and the John F. Kennedy Jr. Forum. It's also a great pleasure to welcome back a dear friend to our campus. 15 years ago, as Ricardo mentioned, I was serving at the Kennedy School as a director of a program on Southeast Europe. And during that time, I traversed this region and got to know it intimately. I came across a unique mayor of a city that most people thought was one of Europe's least interesting, Tirana. That mayor was our speaker tonight, Mr. Edi Rama. Mayor Rama quickly captured international attention and headlines for the innovative things that he did to spark civic debate in a city whose voices and pride had been drowned out by communism of the most authoritarian and isolationist kind. He initiated the painting of buildings. He demolished over 100,000 illegally constructed buildings. He opened up new green spaces around the city and ignited a new civic pride. But it was not only these visible things, these painted buildings, that as mayor caught my attention. Rather, it was something more distinct, less visible than colors. Something was present in Tirana that I didn't see in other places in the Balkans which I visited. Real leadership. Edi Rama's leadership was a new kind of leadership, not only for Albania, but also for a region that had too many leaders who wanted only to produce followers. That is what moved me to visit Tirana for the first time, to invite Edi Rama to visit Harvard in 2003 as mayor and then in 2010 as leader of the socialist opposition. His leadership was then and continues to be a leadership grounded in the desire to understand real challenges that people face. It's grounded in the courage and the ability to mobilize people to both face their challenges and opportunities, to inspire a momentum for change and an ability to initiate progress. It's not a style of leadership that makes Edi Rama stand out, but his leadership ethos, a credo to free politics from attachments to self-interest, empty traditionalism, and dominance over resources that undermine democratic governance. It's this ethos that has inspired and kept him committed to public service through many moments of great difficulty when most people would have abandoned the fight. It's an ethos that propelled him to run for a second time for the premiership, despite the difficulty of facing a grim defeat in a fraudulent election in 2009. His determination to become prime minister was not simply to gain a seat of power, but in the process to ensure that the votes of Albanian citizens would forever be protected and sacred, and that the trust of Albanian people in their institutions would not be destroyed. For more than a decade, Edi Rama has also been committed to sustaining Albania's engagement with Harvard. And in that process, he has gained many friends and fans at Harvard. And he has also allowed the university to make many friends in Albania too. It is with great pleasure, therefore, that I welcome you to this campus on behalf of all of your fans and friends at Harvard, finally, Mr. Rama, as Prime Minister of your country. Mr. Prime Minister, Krye Minister Rama, the floor is yours.
First of all, Let me put the record straight. Thanking my very dear friend Ricardo Hausmann for his introduction, I want to just correct that I was a basketball player because I was too tall among Albanians, and at that time I was obliged to become one. So if you would have seen me playing, you would not have been so proud of me as basketball player. So good evening to everyone, and it is such an honor for me to be here with you in this great venue, able to reflect on the challenges ahead for Albania and for our world, an ever more connected world, or ever more connected destinies. But firstly, I want to thank with all my heart for this event the Institute of Politics, the Center for International Development and the Minda Ginsburg Center for European Studies, with particular gratitude to its executive director, Elaine Papoulias, who has the big credit to have believed in Balkans and its human resources when even we ourselves had a lot of doubts about that. As you may know, for 11 years I was the mayor of Tirana. It was an extraordinary period of incredible challenges, particularly in terms of revealing the potentials of a community and of a city, which reinforced my willingness and determination to go through each term as a mayor, but also to see and understand politics as a force for good. And it is during this period when I became bound to the public's fate, and my driving force was the immense desire for change and the unwillingness to wait for it. I think that mainly due to this reason, to the unwillingness to wait for it, I'm sometimes criticized for starting too many things at the same time and trying to push for too many transformations at the same time. But I strongly believe that we have too much to do, and we lost so much time, held back by our history, held back by bad policies, held back by disappointments during a long transition towards a functioning democracy since the outset of the pluralist regime in the early 90s. On the other hand, I think that people around the world maybe still don't know that much about Albania. And we all know, we Albanians, I mean, that the film industry has not been kind to us. So, Walk the Dog, Taken, even I was a bit scared myself to be in Albania after watching these films. And I really wish with all my heart that Liam Neeson or Dustin Hoffman can visit and see what a beautiful country it is, feel the potential that we all feel when we are in the country. And it's not only the film industry, it's also the media that, with our help, has made its own part. You can imagine that in front of an already prepared speech, I have to read, but I can't avoid to have a part of my mind in a football game. In a football game that I was sure I was resonating with many here, and I'm sure that all applause came from Albanians. But before going to the football game, I want to go on with the part that was prepared without having to think about it, about the football. And let me stress that it was hugely significant for all of us that Pope Francis began his series of visits in Europe from Albania just a few weeks ago. To be witness of something extraordinary we have and the world doesn't know much. In a country where during a long time, because of communism, thousands of churches, mosques, all types of spiritual spaces were erased from the face of the land. Religion was totally forbidden. Clergy were killed and put in prison, where everyone from that part of the society had to stay until the change of regime. And among the many things we did in concealment in order to read holy books and be able to discuss religion and with clergymen, I will always remember the first half-hidden meeting in the Catholic cemetery in the northern town of Shkodra. It was a moment that we all present there felt blessed because we saw religion reborn. And many here may think that we picked that place because we hoped that people would not be interesting to the secret services, omnipresent ears and eyes. But no, it was because the first Mass, after more than 30 years, had to happen. And the cathedral was still a sport palace. So how we could not feel moved and enthusiastic by Pope Francis' recent visit to Tirana and the sight of hundreds and thousands of Christians, Muslims, and other believers and non-believers swarming the Martyrs Boulevard from the very early hours. Through his words, the Pope transformed his recent visit to our capital into a message from Albania to the world, a message of harmony that is not just imaginable but possible, a message of partnership, of faiths for peace that is not just desirable but indispensable. And let me share with you the very last moment when he had to leave the Tirana airport after a long day. And he said to me, "It is not religious harmony I saw today. It is religious fraternity, which is a treasure not only you Albanians but the world should cherish." So this is a true moment of change, a moment of hope and of great opportunity to us. As the values of a country that for almost 50 years was quite isolated from the rest of the world offer a real contribution in facing worldwide present-day challenges. In my lifetime, and I believe I'm still somehow young, but my youngest son is just 2 months old, so it makes me feel younger maybe. I've seen the United States become the evil by an Albanian regime that told us that the United States are the worst place worth to live. And now I've had the honor to meet President Obama more than once as the Prime Minister of my country in an extraordinarily friendly atmosphere, as a meeting of two close allies and representatives of fellow nations. So it's really a big change. In my lifetime, I've seen Germany with an incredible wonder when I was a player of the Albanian national basket team. A young boy feeling so amazed by the big Western country, without being worried at that time that our team did not have an alternative jersey. And I remember that at that time, we were happy to get out with our basketball team, even for the very fact of being able to borrow an alternate jersey from another team. Now, a few months ago, I visited Berlin as the Prime Minister of the same country that represented the Balkans in the joint conference with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel and Jose Manuel Barroso, President of the European Commission. So it's a big change for a not so long lifetime, which is a not so long lifetime for all the Albanians of my generation. And when I see here so many young people, and I just imagine from where we started, I think on one hand that we were so blessed to live a so intense time of change, but on the other hand, that change can happen. Change is not only possible, but is worth living, to fight for it and to make it happen. Actually, there in Berlin, in the Balkan Summit, while discussing with other Balkan leaders about our nation's common future in the EU, it came to my mind that, again, in my not so long lifetime, in 70s, 80s, in Albania we couldn't watch any type of TV and listen to any type of music without producing our own antennas to catch signals, antennas that we usually kept under our beds because it was impossible to put them on the rooftops. Nobody would allow them. It would have been very dangerous. And so, in a place where 100 years ago the First World War started, and for 100 years we passed through so many wars, of conflicts, of bloodshed, of isolation, of self-isolation, finding ourselves in the very 100th anniversary of the First World War in a region that is always a commune to war and fights, without any conflict at the border, is another big example of how change can happen and how much change is worth living, fighting for it. And this August in Berlin, we were having exciting discussions and putting forward really inspiring common projects related to present problems in our countries, but also to the future of our young generations. And our discussion went far beyond simple diplomatic or cultural exchanges, and definitely far beyond the cultural myths created in our minds by the snapshots those improvised antennas gave to us. But Still, change is difficult and change is challenging. And the football match told us that there is still a lot to do to make the pace of change solid, sustainable, and unbreakable. And frankly speaking, this is out of my speech. After the happenings, we are facing two sides of the medal. On one hand, the very obvious past, with its hatred, with its easygoing language, full of allegations, with its fingers pointed always towards the other as the guilty for the unpleasant situation. And on the other hand, the hopes and the dreams that this fantastic change in the Balkans have created and have made real in front of all of us as a horizon of opportunities. So the first way is the easiest one, to go backwards again and to respond in the same way with the same old, easy language of old politics. But is it worth fighting for it and through it? Or is it better to fight that we overcome even this very sad and disappointed moment, and we look forward for the sake of the next generations and for the sake of a chance that is given to us by this historical opportunity to look all together towards a future that we have the fantastic possibility to see as a concrete horizon, the European Union horizon. I think this should and will be our way, the Albanian way. Albanians have never been nor destabilizers of the Balkans, either aggressors towards anyone else. And if Albanians today are in a much better place than they were 10 years ago, it should mean something. And I strongly believe that it means that we have what we have built it through peaceful and through not harmful for any other else ways of searching our better place in the region. They say the United States is a place where dreams come true. Obviously, it's not the only one. And I very much want to believe that among other places where dreams come true, Albania is one. But also the Balkans are one. And this is a message to all our diaspora members, to all Albanian students who would like to engage in their country, and to all experts interested in contributing in Albania. I had a very beautiful handshake with one of Ricardo Hausmann team members who came to Albania maybe obliged by his professor, but then went back to Albania for the honeymoon. So choosing Albania as a place for a honeymoon being a Harvard student and having so many other places possible to choose is a fantastic fact to be told. It's a fantastic story to be spread. And it's a fantastic reason for all the others to follow the same path, not necessarily for the honeymoon, but for the fantastic Albanian sun. I know that all of them and everyone here will understand that what I mean isn't that the United States is not unique in its potential to fulfill dreams. But what I'm trying to say about present-day Albania and the Balkans is that we have the chance to live in a historical moment and in an arena of incredible possible transformations, in places that can offer the possibility of being agents of change and with huge satisfactions for all of us. And certainly, I don't believe that our problems are based in Hollywood, and nor in the international media, although I think the international media over-debt to my brother lately. But it is, in fact, real that corruption has held back progress for many years, that organized crime has held back progress for many years, that all these diseases have stopped people from believing that can be ever fairness there. And they are right, because corruption is not about people, but about systems and the willingness of politicians and leaders to change the systems. And I want to bring here an example. The first foreign guest with institutional power to visit my office as mayor of Tirana was Creek Portman, at the time World Bank regional director. And before he came, the World Bank country office staff had been to my office several times. But they kept on noting problems and reporting problems, but never trying to do something with me as mayor for the good of the city, because the city was not in their portfolio. So then I changed and I welcomed them, but kept talking about history, art, literature, even culinary art and climate. And so they realized the refusal to talk serious subjects unless it was a project. And so they reported in Washington about a very strange mayor with a free chat formula. This took the attention of the regional director, and he decided that when he visited Albania to visit for the first time the mayor of the city. And with great modesty, in fact, Creek Portman sat in the guest corner in my office and said to me, "Look, before you start talking to me about art, literature, and so on, I want to say something. You are Creek Portman, the regional country, the regional director of the World Bank, and I'm Edi Rama, the mayor of Tirana. Now tell me, what will you do for me?" So it was a very good shot, and I couldn't say no to this, but I just asked a condition, that if I would say what I would want the World Bank to do, he would not give me the famous answer, "It's a very good idea, but it doesn't fit with our programs." So he accepted it, and on my invitation, we both went on the other side of the office went through my toilet and got to the small window of the toilet to have a look down where people were served in daily basis, under the sun or under the rain, it didn't make a difference, in 2 kiosks. They were making long lanes. And just for obtaining a certificate, a permit, and information, they had to wait until their turn was to be in front of this very small, dark hole from where a hand was coming out and getting in, and nothing else. And this was the hand that would get the request and then would give the answer based on the bribe inside the request. And so I said to Crick Portman, this is all corrupt. People have to wait and then they have to pay, otherwise the hand will not give them what they are looking for. So my question is how we fight it. We take the 2 bodies inside and we replace them with 2 other bodies and with 2 other and 2 other, 2 other, assuming that we find finally the honest person? Or we just erase these 2 kiosks and we create a real space for people to come and to be welcomed and to feel dignified as citizens and to be served. So he agreed, and although he said to me it doesn't fit with our program, but he said that he would help me to find the money. So we drafted a project to transform all of it in a service hall with digital procedures, with a beautiful modern waiting lounge, and with a system of monitoring all the requests. And so we provided space for transparency and for good service, self-respect and respect for the citizens. So briberies and all refusals stopped. And the service hall became the first of its type in Albania, and the project became a success story of the World Bank, and then the World Bank started to sell the story elsewhere. So what it took to end so many years and so much energy and money feeding corruption and a vicious circle of bad service was the change of the system, was modernizing the system through the will for change. And this is what I believe. Fighting the big disease of corruption means modernizing. Because I don't believe in the natural honesty of public servants. I don't believe in the natural honesty of German public servants. And I strongly believe that if we would have made an experiment by bringing in Albania 50 German public servants and putting them in the most appetible agencies, I'm sure that after the first 40 days of temptations, they would fall. They would fall. And they would start to look at the pockets of people. And on the other way around, I strongly believe that if we bring 50 Albanian civil servants from the worst places where corruption is present, and we bring them to Germany, they would not ever even dream to ask for a bribe to a German citizen, because the system would not allow them. So it's about systems, it's not about people, because people cannot corrupt a system that works. Systems that do not work can corrupt people. So let me put it the other way. I'm sure that my fellow Albanians here agree with me that although we are very unfriendly with seatbelts, we can't imagine a fellow citizen driving without a seatbelt in Germany. But I've seen Germans driving without seatbelt in Albania. So it's about systems. It's not about nationalities, and it's not about natural inclination to democracy. And at the end, systems mean it's about institutions. So what we are trying to implement in Albania now is, through the wheel of change, to build systems and to do it through multiple partnership. And we came here first and foremost to continue our work with Ricardo Hausmann and the Center for International Development, which is proving to be really something that every government in the region and every government that need to deal with problems of sustainable economic growth would dream for. And on the other hand, we have taken many measures to start and tackle the physiological problem of our economic model. Because we have agreed that the economic model that provided growth, a jobless growth for 20 years, has exhausted itself. And the sources of growth that have been there are not there anymore. Remittances from immigrants are lowering dramatically every year. The construction boom is over. So we have to turn towards the big potentials of the country and to the big resources of the country and use them in a way that they produce growth and they produce prosperity. So oil and gas, minerals, agriculture, tourism, and for sure, energy that has to change from a big problem, systemic problem for our country, in a source of income and of prosperity. So nowadays in Albania there are many transformation fronts. These also include work done in cities to rebuild hope and trust for people that are living in cities that for many years have not seen any investment. And we've started by transforming the squares of the cities that so far have remained like open graves of the former regime in the middle of the city, like spaces that instead of attracting people in their life, in their community life, look like pushing people out of the city, look like telling to the young people, go, go, go. And work done in service hall to transform the conditions and culture of public service is part of this transformation. We cannot live long with this endemic corruption that is continuing to harm people and to harm people's hopes and dreams in every step where they have to encounter the state through the need for a service. So we have embarked in a very important transformational project to bring the services to the people using the new technology and separating them from the civil servants through a completely innovative mechanism. Work done to ensure a clear environment and to protect the natural resources and the natural attractions our country has, because we all agree that Albanians today live better than 20 years ago. But at what cost for the country? At what cost for our nature? at what cost for our landscape, at what cost for our rivers and forests and beaches and beauties. Because at the end of the day, we should not forget that our best asset is our beauty. And we should cherish it, and we should do everything that our beauty, the beauty of our country, become the point of reference for all of us when we go further with our policies of growth and development. And all these are not unrelated transformation fronts, because they stand all on a reformation and modernization platform. What is going on, and this is why I'm particularly hopeful, is a chain reaction of effective partnerships for change, which means also getting things done, as well as ensuring sustainable results. Obviously, our main responsibility to get things done is towards the Albanian citizens, by keeping our promises, the promise we made during a fantastic election campaign with a fantastic result and support for us. But we all know that campaigning is the easy part. What is hard is turning words into actions and policies which deliver change, which deliver results. As an artist, you do whatever you want with your brush and your canvas. But as politician and leader, you have to be aware that others too are painting on your canvas. This is where your unwillingness to wait for change turns to eagerness for action. So you become a prime minister and learn to paint together with others, invited or uninvited partners, the canvas of change. As an artist, I had no high esteem for politics, particularly Albanian and Balkan politics. But it's through the years as mayor that I understood, and now as prime minister, I'm absolutely sure that so much change for good comes through politics. And politics is what make us as individuals make happen things that we cannot change alone. And I want to tell to all the young people here something that I think is very important to keep in mind. Because many young people find reasonable to say, I don't mix with politics. Politics is a dirty thing. So let politics do what has to do, and I do what I want to do. It's an illusion. Politics will influence your life in any way. And bad politics will make your lives more difficult. So you can not think about politics, but politics is always doing something about you. That's why you should engage. Not to become politicians, but to be good citizens. Because at the end of the day, being a good man, being a good professional, is not necessarily being a good citizen too. And Albania, first and foremost, need good citizens. And who better than good people, good professionals, ambitious, hopeful people can be Albania's good citizens today? Let's admit it, it seems like it took a long time and a lot of fights for us and for all of us in the region to achieve this. But does this matter anymore? When we have the chance to prove that history does not repeat itself, and when we have the opportunity to make what President Kennedy said, named the kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living. So the present-day Albania and the present-day Balkans are places of very highly potential multiple partnerships. Partnerships that extend far beyond borders and biases, partnerships that could be an inspiration to the next generation, but also to the world. And they are places of profound change, change that can contribute to transformations and peace that also stretch far beyond our borders and our region. And I hope you too can all be partners in that change. Now, let me thank you with all my heart for your patience. I appreciate it very much, because I'm sure it's not obvious to be so patient when you have to hear about a place named Balkans, and when you have to hear from someone that is supposed to be the Prime Minister of a country named Albania. So thank you very much. Thank you.
The floor is open to questions. There are 3 ground rules that we have to respect here at the forum. First, there are 4 microphones positioned here. If you would like to ask a question, please line up at a microphone. Please identify yourself. 1 question per customer. And remember, please, that questions end with a question mark.
Done so far to address that? And in addition, what role should the international community take to deal with that problem?
It's not people that have to stop corruption, is the way we organize that has to make corruption the worst alternative for people. Because today, and for many years, in Albania, people are inclined to corruption as the faster service, as the faster alternative to a service they are supposed to get from an office, but they don't get. So we have to improve the services, and the way to improve the services is through modernization and reforms, and the way to make the modernization reforms happen is through the will of change. So the answer is modernization. We may all want that we all become a nation of angels, but this is not an option for any nation. So what makes the difference is functioning institutions and modern systems of serving people and of making people be able to watch transparently how their leaders and their institutions work.
Hello, my name is Vadbona Bayraktari Schwab. I studied here, but I came back to Albania, and I'm one of the founders of the American Bank of Albania. I worked and lived there for 3 years in the 90s, and I ran in 2000 back here. So I salute you for going back and sticking it out Flora style in the country that we all love. So now I work in investments here, and I direct money, and I deal with investors who want to invest and buy companies in Albania, but they can't. And one of the reasons is that the American Stock Exchange is not quite open. It's not working. The currency peg is not working. So there is a need for transparency in both fronts so that foreign capital can come there and build the roads and the bridges and the power plants. Are you thinking about this with the government right now? Are there any plans to change anything on that front?
Yeah, humbly I would ask you to let me fix the Albanian front and not the American front, because it would be too hard for me to fix both. So on the Albanian front, we will do all the necessary to be able to have more room to have more room for being financed. But so far we are tight in a space that is determined by many mistakes made in the past and by a very big volume of arrears that we found in our way just in the beginning of our first term. So we have first to deal with all that, and then hopefully we will have more room to think about having more capability of financing.
Go to the top.
Hi, I'm Rafael Rivera. I'm a joint degree student here at the Kennedy School and the Business School. So one of the more frequent issues that I hear from Albania is the discrimination against specific ethnic groups, like, for example, the Roma people who have higher levels of poverty, or they underscore in education and health. And also the European Union mentioned that during your application to join the European Union. So my question is, what Albania is doing to address those issues of discrimination against specific ethnic groups, and what are the main lessons that people from other countries but with similar issues can learn from Albania?
Thank you. Let me tell you very straightforward that if there is first strong reason I can say loudly, I'm proud to be Albanian, is that there is no any type of discrimination in Albania towards anyone. I'll come to your point, but I want to tell you that we have had to suffer many stigmas because of the international media, but also because of some harm we have done to ourselves in many ways. But one of this is that Albania is a Muslim country. This is not true. Albania is a European country where Christians and Muslims, Sunnis, Bektashis, Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, live all together in peace, mixed marriages, no problem, cemeterium that are not separated, life goes easy. Just let me give you a concrete impression by taking as example my family. I am Catholic, my wife is Muslim, our big son is Orthodox, our daughter is Orthodox, and our baby is Catholic. So don't ask me how so, because it will be a long story, but this is fact. So we have had problems also with Roma people, but believe me, not because of discriminating them, but because of a system that in the same way can harm everyone. So no one is harmed because of the color of the skin. No one is harmed because of the way it speaks the language. No one is harmed because of religion or territorial or whatever. But everyone might be harmed because of a system that's not working properly. So we have addressed the problems when they have appeared, but we cannot say and we will not accept that there is a problem of discrimination towards Roma people in Albania. This is not true. So be sure of that.
Hi, my name is Ben Bolger, and I'm a Harvard alum. There are a number of Albanians during a previous period of political turbulence that left for Italy, Greece, and elsewhere. Are you optimistic that with a new Albania, some of those folks will move back to Albania? And do you think that Albania's economic future can be independent of Greece and other nearby countries which their economies have been impacting the region?
Unfortunately, people are moving back not because of the new Albania, but because of the old Italy and old Greece. Unfortunately, for the moment. We very much hope that they'll start to come back because of the new Albania, but the new Albania will need time. So we should be realistic. And for sure, the financial crisis has hurt us very much through hurting our brothers and sisters in Greece and Italy, especially, where are the biggest settlements of Albanian communities, because they have lost jobs, because they have to go through all the pains of failures in these countries. So for the moment, this is the situation. I very much hope, and we are all working to make Albania a better place and to make people come back and to make these Albanians here, which are the cream of the cream, to come back. But this will take time.
Here.
My name is Kurt Kostu. Thank you for coming and speaking with us. The recent EU enlargement report noted significant progress in Albania, but it did outline some areas that need further efforts in reforms. And one of those in particular was the energy sector. And I was wondering what your plans are for reforming the energy sector.
We are a country with a very big hydro potential, and we are the second richest country in Europe for water resources after Norway. But unfortunately, we're a country where everyone has problems with water, with drinking water, with water for irrigation, with water when God became crazy and threw us a lot, so we have floods, and also with water when we lack water, and so our energy sector suffers. And this makes me quote Professor Hausman, who says countries do not differ for what they have, but for what they know. And so having a country that is so rich in water and having so many problems, and watching Israel that has no water and have no problem with water, it's a clear example of how knowledge and use of knowledge can make the difference. So saying that, I think that with the energy sector, we have inherited a big mountain of problems. First and foremost, the theft of energy. So Albanians today, being red or being blue, have a common enemy, which is every thief of energy, every thief of electricity, because we should end with it. And ending with it will be the first strong the first strong base we'll make to go further. And on the other hand, we have to do better with our potential, because, as I said, we can still develop our hydro. We can still, and we should develop our export capacities. We have a lot to do in the oil sector. Albania will not only profit from TAP, but is becoming more and more encouraging what we are following in the search of gas. So we may be soon in front of important discoveries of gas. So we should fix this problem, and we will fix this problem, but it will need some time.
As we're coming to the end of our time, I would ask that the questions please be brief.
Hi, I'm Andra Keknio. I'm a freshman at Harvard College. I'm from Kosovo. The question, ever since the turmoil created during and after the football game of Serbia versus Albania, I've been reading the news, and in one of the recent news I've read was that you declared that you are going to visit Belgrade at the end of October. And I wanted to ask, while I believe that it shows that Albania wants to move on, did you consider the negative implications that your visit might have, such as the shift in the relationship between Albania and Serbia, because Serbians might consider your visit as Albania's suppression of Serbia under Serbians' rule, because there has been a lot of anti-Albanian propaganda and violence these days.
But, you know, I have to admit that Serbs have shown to have a far larger fantasy than us, and far more catastrophic imagination that we are able to have, because, you know, they are still in a big trouble with their own past. And so when I listen to all these people, that have somehow succeeded to fool also the world for a moment, I hope, that all that has been happening was about the flag. And when I see these people struggling with the flag of another country, you know, I feel really sad for them. Because I believe that struggling with the other's flag is somehow not being able to escape from your own ghost, from your own past. It's like struggling with your own body. And so it's their problem. It's not our problem. Our problem is to make sure that this fantastic opportunity we have should not be missed, and that we can show to the world, we can show to Europe that the Balkans are able to move forward, and the Balkans do not deserve to be isolated as they were. And by being all trapped in this football game, we may make so much harm to ourselves by self-isolating again the Balkans, and by making all people say, okay, they are all the same, and they are all the same as they were all these years, so they don't deserve our attention, they don't deserve our support, they don't deserve our cooperation. We should not forget what happened in Berlin. What happened in Berlin is historical. And it's up to us to show if we are ready to go forward, and if we are ready to be partners with Europe, as we pretend. So if they are EU, we should be E. We cannot erase the E and be B, because then we'll remain B class for how many years, I don't know. So let's honor the E. Until they decide to give us the U behind, we should honor the Europe. We are Europe. We should communicate, and we should behave, and we should cooperate as Europeans. Then everyone has its own way. But believe me, don't think that they are gaining anything by being so overcharged by their own past. Don't think that the stronger is the one who is able to shout against the other. Don't think, I'm sure you don't think that the stronger were the 30,000 Serbs saying kill the Albanians, you know, and then they are afraid of a flying flag. If they are so strong, they should just look at the flag and say, okay, let's go on. So it's weakness.
This will be the last question.
Thank you. My name's Sarah Orvin. I also work for a local investment company that invests in Albania. Thank you so much for talking tonight and for taking questions especially. My question is about the recent removal of the central bank governor, if you can comment on that at all. What conclusions I should draw for what it means for your government's views on central bank independence and what you're looking for in a new central bank governor. Thank you.
I have learned also by my own life that a crisis is an opportunity. And I've had the chances more than once to prove it, that when there is a crisis, there is, of course, something not pleasant happening, but there is, at the same time, a big chance. So we should not waste this crisis, and we should make sure that the Bank of Albania come out of it more independent, come out of it more professional, come out of it more dignified in front of the world. I mean, the financial world. And there are all the chances to do so. And that's why I've said that we should not be close to the idea of foreign governor, not because of a foreign governor, but because of high authority in the international financial system. And then if there is an Albanian that can make the financial world say, wow, they got him or her, even better, then, of course, would be more than welcome. So I very much hope that with the President we'll succeed to give to the Bank of Albania a governor that will be immediately respected by the financial world. And as for the supervisory board, you know that we have to go through the parliament, and that's why I've opened space for application from all Albanians that work in the international financial system. We had 151 people from all over the world, Albanians, applying. Then we had a short list of 8 or 9, and then they were interviewed by a special committee. So we'll be able to present to the parliament candidates that are worth the respect of everyone and of their total independence nobody can doubt. That's why we said since the beginning that we will not fish the members of the supervisory board in the courtyards of political parties, even although the same goes for the Socialist Party, which I lead. So they'll come from the financial system.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for your inspiring words, your inspiring leadership.
Thank you.